Okay. Hi, my name is Alex. I'm software development manager for one of the cross-functional teams in Tesco Technology. And today we're going to have a talk about system design, just our empirical research and, let's say, practical suggestions from our side, how to get prepared to any type of system design interview. Of course, I will be showing you the path, how it's actually implementing in Tesco Technology, but at the same time, I would like to mention that it's not we're not the single basically company who using a specific approach on system design and recruitment itself. So we going to talk today about like interview paths in Tesco, how we actually managing it, what exactly things we checking during these phases. So then I will show you a few tips and tricks what you need to know about system design at Tesco Technology and from the global perspective. At the same time, definitely will share you my personal research result on approaches that you should consider when you're preparing to any type of system design interview. So we will talk a little bit about assessors, how they might affect on the final result. And at the very end, the thing that actually I really want to share with you, I would share with you a few examples. So something that we already experienced during the system design. And of course, I will not be disclosing any names or assessors or candidates. So basically, that would be great stuff and examples on what I've been talking about. So, and at the end, we have a Q&A. I think it's organized by GeeCON. I will share a QR code after the presentation, and please feel free to log in to application and this room number 12. Any questions I will try to address at the end of the presentation. If not, then we're good to go after the presentation itself. This is a few words about myself. So I'm working as a software development manager at Tesco Technology and been for last 3 years. I've been working as a team leader since 2017 and participated as an assessor in around 100 plus interviews. I just stopped counting after this specific amount. So, as a part of recruitment process at Tesco Technology, I'm doing Tesco Software Development Lifecycle Recruitment Pass. Of course, it won't be a part of the presentation, but just good to mention. So if you want to share your personal comment or will provide me feedback, so please follow me on LinkedIn. I'm open to any connection. So let's start. The first thing that I wanted to share with you, of course, it's interview pass at Tesco Technology itself. So what stages we interested in prior to get candidate on work. So we have two different passes. So first pass is about software development manager. So this is a basically regular team lead role for the cross-functional team, or maybe single functional team. We are considering on 3 stages. So first stage is system design. Of course, it's leadership and software development lifecycle. The second pass, is actually software development engineer. That's the roles started from regular junior to senior, and we have almost the same thing, if you can see. So system design, leadership, and the additional part is coding. So that's our difference actually between manager pass and engineering pass. Okay. I wanted to introduce my colleague So his name is Thomas, let's say his name is Thomas, and he will be helping me with jumping in with some questions that might appear on your mind during the presentation or during the preparation to system design. So, and the first question actually that he wanted to ask us is, hey guys, why actually do you have all of these stages? Why you need this number of amount of time spending prior to actually hire someone? And this is a good question. And the most prepared people from you who spent not an entire hour or 10 hours on preparation to system design and other type of interview might definitely state something like that. So we here because you need the best of the best of the best. And you know that from the famous movie statement. And what I would say, yes, that's exactly our approach. But at the same time, please take a look at about the goals of the dedicated stages of interview. And meanwhile, I will try to justify that exact approach. So nowadays, many software development companies actually using quite, I don't know, simple or maybe strange, I don't know, it depends on the point of view, approach. So they getting rid of architects and getting rid of QAs and tell, hey guys, let developers do it role, yeah? So it might be helpful for self-development, it might be helpful for further career paths, and so on and so far. However, in Tesco technology, we also don't have like dedicated role for specific software architect or quality engineer or quality assurance engineer, but at the same time, actually, Tesco delivery Tesco delivered a well-known product within which helped our business actually go on with a specific technology set, and at the same time we using the teams which has multiple different skill set, either soft or hard skills, I mean technical skills. So they have to fulfill several expectations from the engineering perspective. So. If you ask me about the Tesco, probably, what is my feeling? So I would share with you my personal observation. So we in Tesco technology acting some kind of as a small startups under the umbrella of Corpo. I will explain you what does it mean. So that means that each team, each separate team, has a possibility to pick up a set of technology which they are seeing will fulfill expectation from the product perspective and will cover all necessary requirements which business wanted us to implement. So based on that, we might have a various set of technologies per dedicated direction. So for example, it's delivering API, delivering web application, delivering a mobile application, and DevOps as a separate stream with a set of tools that we can actually use. And what does it mean under the umbrella of Corpo? That means that at the same time with all the flexibility, Tesco technology try to actually little bit boundary these possibilities due to security reasons, due to different circumstances that might appear. So that's why what actually it's looking like. So first of all, during the system design phase, we wanted to understand how candidate can actually come with a specific solution with options which help to solve dedicated business tasks. That's the main punch here. Leadership, it's not only about to be a leader, yeah? It's mostly like to checking what kind of soft skills possess the dedicated candidate. And that will help us to understand which team this candidate will fit. Coding path, it's not a usual coding path as you might know probably from different other recruitment, but from our perspective, coding path is most like a write self-descriptive code which will cover nowadays standards, or candidate will be able to define the standards which we'll be following, and at the same time it should be good to reuse and with cover with testing. It's also important. So if you would ask how task is hard, I don't think it's hard from the perspective of complexity, but at the same time, we're checking ability to write knowing code, ability to self-explanatory code to be actually placed as a part of this type of interview. And the very end, I placed it, it's software development lifecycle. It's necessary skill set which should possess our software development manager, because from the perspective of Tesco, software development manager actually built up exactly delivery lifecycle of the specific product. So that's why we need to be sure that candidate who actually apply to this role will possess necessary skill set to cover all of the things. Yes. So, system design. And what you need to know about the system design. I know that nowadays, almost all software development companies, they actually introduce this as a stage, one of the stages of recruitment process. And we are not an exception. And I would like you to show system design from our perspective and a little bit generalize it to everyone else. Yep. And the first question, which Thomas will definitely ask, so what do you want from me? And that's a great question that everyone should probably know prior to start recruitment process on dedicated company. It doesn't matter which company it is. So many of you might think about something like that. Yeah? So on this diagram, you're able to see, I would say, ideal case study, which actually covers system design of example of Twitter. Yeah, so the different kind of things. You see a bunch of number of components on this diagram, and you might think that, oh my goodness, is it really what you expected from me? So write something like that within the 90 minutes, and I would say no, because first of all, we basically can spare 10 hours of time, either your or our time. And we don't need such kind of granularity for dedicated stage, yeah, for system design. In addition, I would say that each case study, doesn't matter what task it would be, what company you will apply. The main thing is that each case study, it actually has a specific seed inside, which you should be able to grab and grow and show actually assessor or interviewer with a specific precise and with all justified decisions. And that's actually, if you take a look patiently on this diagram, so you may find even several seats which might be as a part of the separate system design interview and case study. Yeah, that's basically one of the good example what we shouldn't do like that. But logically, what then you want from us, yeah? So, and here we come with the approaches. Approaches that we should consider during the system design preparation or conducting this stuff. Interesting point which I wanted to share with you. I know that probably you know about it, but again, better to state it, that you cannot find a single silver point or bullet to actually solve any case study and any task. If you would, let's say, prepare yourself to a specific study, it might be visible during the interview phase, and assessor basically just do not accept it. Yeah. So the main thing is we need to start with something simple. My suggestion, and as I mentioned, it's empirically proved, then you need to start from something small. For example, that's the direction that I would like you to consider during the preparation and approaching actually system design. So there are two ways that I wanted to name it. It's not well named, but again, top to the bottom and bottom to the top. Though it doesn't matter which direction you would pick up, but the better to follow this specific direction. What does it mean? That means that first of all, if you picking up, for example, top to bottom, first of all, you need to remember about requirements. And that's is a place where, let's say, case study might have a different outcome. Yeah, basing on requirements, you might change the final view of dedicated case study. I actually experienced some of the things when candidate came prepared. I don't know, he used different sources, you know, you can Google whatever case study in the internet and try to prepare yourself to any specific system design on dedicated company with specification, of course. And candidate came to the system design interview and asked me about few just clarified question and then started to implement. I basically stop him and say, hey, may a little bit tell you about the requirements, because he didn't ask me about it, because he started just straight away implementation. And I said, may we talk about requirements? And he, oh, requirements, I think, oh yeah, okay, let's talk. And then I started to change initial requirement set, which actually I prepared to this presentation. And the outcome of dedicated case study has changed. Not from the head to the feet, but it did change, just believe me. So, and the very, very important here, to clarify requirements prior to start any writing, any thinking, any talking. So that's basically from the top to the bottom approach. I know that some of the assessors during the defining case study, which will be actually considered as a part of system design, they just avoid a lot of requirements and looking for candidate to ask about it, yeah, to clarify. It's a good approach, probably not, but again, that might be. And you need to be aware that in some situation you might not get all the requirements straight away, and you need to clarify it, understand, and begin your implementation. So, second circle, I would say it's logical architecture. Quite good stage when you actually check in the requirements, try to group it up in a logical component. So basically, the starting already preparing the picture, which will be as a result set and outcome of your system design. Additional set to that, to logical components, it will be definitely API definition. And when I'm talking about API definition, I'm not meaning that we're only talking about REST API, but any other types of API. So any programmatical interface that might be used within the specific case study should be discussed clearly to understand all circumstances and all things about that. Yeah. And the very last but not least, it's a data structure. It's very important to the end of your system design, build up a specific domain and data structure that going to be used by dedicated system. So, and from non-functional requirements, of course, you need to be provided with architecture, and at the very end, it's integration patterns, the pattern of integration dedicated component between each other. Very important. And one more time, direction doesn't matter, but just try to follow it. If you would pick up, for example, started from data structures, it's also okay. But yeah, that's at the result of any system design, there should be some outcome. Outcome is very necessary to understand how you can actually wrap up the design with dedicated results. So, and what I would suggest, again, it's not it's not a hard suggestion from my side, but it's likely, again, observation. So few of them, it's a component diagram. So it might not be so detailed as we saw on Twitter case study, but definitely like component and dependency on each other should be present on it to be able to actually cover the questions from assessors and other stuff and show that you know what the system design about. The second one, again, it's a suggestion. Try to use flow or process diagrams. It will show your attitude to design. It will show you attitude to specific details of dedicated case studies, and it will show your experience in actually showing data flow and different stuff from the perspective of implementing system. And the last but not least, which I would say 40% of candidates might forget, it's a physical architecture. It's very good that during the system design you will be able to build up a system, prepare component and processes, but if you cannot tell what will be the physical architecture for dedicated solution or possible variations of it, so it might just decrease your final score on the system design. Again, as a suggestion, prepare yourself as well to the very final, to the physical architecture in infrastructure, which should be actually holding all your system design. So, logically, you might ask and searching for the next answer. So, what interviewer is looking for during the system design? What I might share with you that the best thing, I try to actually group all of these feedbacks. I try to group specific discussions with assessors on TESCO, and these are the group which I wanted to share with you, and more or less they are the same from different company perspective. So first of all, the knowledge and the basically fundamental system design principle. There are several approaches on system design, and better to know one or two just to be able to consider it during the interview phase. Second one is considering all the possible parameters, input values, constraints of the dedicated case study. It will also help you to build up a solution which will cover the functional requirements. The solution that you're going to show should consider all, it's the best probably, or most of the engineering trade-off that can be during this phase. Another step that we try to understand during the system design is your specific experience in a common format of the dedicated component. So if you have a multiple different side of system design, that better to understand if you had experience with that, what kind of experience, and how you can actually bind it together. And the last but not least, and I would say, from my at least perspective, again, it's the most important thing, that system design is not only about a system. Yeah, it's about users which going to use your system, and some of the actually functional requirements, non-functional requirements, they might lead to specific consequences for your users. And if we're talking about, for example, service-to-service communication, it's of course downstream and upstream dependency of specific case study. Opposite of that, we have few things that I also wanted to show you and tell you explicitly, because sometimes people might not thinking about it. So what interviewer is not looking for. So definitely, when you actually focusing on the single aspect of the system design, it will decrease your final score and definitely will not show all the side of your self-development or knowledge. When you try to provide answers, which quite self-stated and definitive, without specific background, that's also not a good direction, and please try to avoid it. Do not do assumption on any prompts. So the better to clarify, better to ask other question than to make assumptions with a specific statement. How to rephrase? Okay, probably the most important thing here is, and that's, to be honest, 50, I would say even more percent when system design might fail, when you're showing extensive expertise in a specific problem or domain. So just example, if you take a system which has a user interface, it has database and has interface and has API, and you just fully build up your system design only on API or on database, it's good. It's good for specific state, but in Tesco and for software development engineer is not the way. So you need to be able to show and cover all the specific components dedicated one. And of course, when you following that I mentioned from the very beginning, when you're following the specific path started from the end without any clarity, so it also is the wrong direction, and probably you will fail your system design. Logically, and probably the next question which Thomas help us, it will be, do you have some kind of do's and don'ts, something that might help to understand if we going well or we're going in wrong direction? Or can you help me to build up a specific approach to any system design? Of course, again, as I mentioned, we cannot do it. I mean, we cannot have a silver bullet, but at the same time, I can share with you my my specific observation, and that's actually what we wanted to every candidate came to us follow. I assume that any other companies has the same. So first of all, it's you definitely in the wrong direction if you play the game from the very beginning to the very end without any any consideration, anything. So that's a bad one. If you pushing yourself against the assessor, so if you got some straight away feedback or you got some information from assessor and you just skip it and just ignore and following the other step. So it's definitely wrong direction. And that I mentioned is a part of the previous, so do not exceed task boundaries. So do not extend specific component, blowing it up to the might form, but let's try to be quite precise and within the specific case study, of course. Okay, and few simple rules what you need to follow. So first of all, communicate honestly about what you know and what you don't know. Some assessors definitely would give you a possibility to expose your, let's say, learning skills and how you can actually adapt to the things which you don't know but you manage to solve in some way. Every system design interview, and the main key to any system design is collaboration between interviewer and candidate. So it should be defined from my observation from the very beginning of interview and follow till the end. You will definitely need to take some time to grab all of your knowledge, try to sort it out and build up a dedicated path to follow during the interview phase. And that's, you will be given this time and you will need to take it. Please do not be in rush, do not start to talk too much, and that will definitely be not a grateful from the perspective of system design. Okay, other question that probably you definitely would ask, and Thomas again helped me with the question and stated, hey, how's about assessors? That's quite a good question. From our research, we found that about 20 up to 20% of interview might follow due to assessor. I mean, that not the assessor specifically somehow wanted to fail candidate. But at the same time, there are two different types of assessor, and I would like to share with you. So, first is assessor killing, you know, yeah? Just sitting, listening to, and little bit waving with the hand. Yeah, you hand or head, it doesn't matter. So you just, it's quite straight to understand at the very beginning. So in second assessor type, it's let's name it assessor opera. So she or he will be able to help you. she or he is here to actually support you, to answering all your questions, and even from some perspective, this type of assessor can actually help you even more than it might be. Yeah, the only thing. Of course, if we're talking about approach, assessor Killian, who is doing his job, of course, but it requires additional and extensive software skills, I would say. Because in different situations, it might act in different things. From one perspective, he might expect you to drive the conversation. From other perspective, you might need his approval to move forward. So, which definitely required additional skills. So that's not mean that any of assessors wanted to make you fail, but they required some additional preparation, not only for technical part of system design, but from soft skill perspective as well. Okay. So, I will try to share with you our experience, my personal experience, and TESCO itself, TESCO technology itself. And at the end, I will share with you some top tips that actually bullet points that you will be able to write down or maybe photo it, and will remind you prior to preparation. So, what does it mean examples? So, since we participated in many number of interviews, different kind of interviews and different types, and we actually gathering some specific situation during these interviews and wanted to show you how to do something and how do not do, yeah, and what actually expectation was from our side. So first of all, it will be formed with question from the assessor, answer from the candidate, and a few thoughts from our side as a host of actually interview. So just easy and probably the most frequent question that we might ask, it's, hey, you mentioned about there will be REST web service as a part of API. So what kind of definition language you're going to use? And to be honest, so it's like an average answer, but in nutshell, so, oh, you know, in our company, we're usually using plain words or just some Word document and integration meeting. So if you need to onboard someone to your API, so we just sit about in half an hour and everything's clear and understanding. That's how the approach. Bad or good, I cannot tell you. Yeah, so that's just a statement. And our expected way of thinking that probably will help you. We accept the idea of Yagni principle. It's one of the crucial principles in programming. Just do not overdo your tasks. And the size and number of integration within the specific company might be enough to actually sharing its own API within the words, within the Word documents, and just have some few follow-up meeting just to clarify all unknowns. Yeah, but at the same time, if you take a mid to large level company, it's quite hard to keep this this type of conversation. And that actually key point is to do a fast integration, to reduce errors, and to get more clarity for everyone without involving additional efforts from the team perspective. So, of course, it won't solve all the problems, and you will definitely need to have additional meeting to cover some corner cases and other aspects, but at the same time, our suggestion, use some of the nowadays well-known languages like OpenAPI, RAML, VADL, etc. So it's about a number of it. And if you're approaching the system design, you need to pick up one of this language and just to follow it to describe your API. Okay, next question. That's also, again, as I mentioned, it's average question. It's like or combined from the different interviews, but more or less it looked like that, and you definitely know about it. So when we discuss a persistency layer, you mentioned about the database. So what kind of database you would suggest to use for this dedicated case study? Average question for average system design interview. But the answer that we mostly I forgot to change name of the dedicated database, but I mean that it's not every time Postgres. Yeah, sorry, just so that's some so candidate answer. So it will be some database. Yeah, and I'm using it in my current project, and it's so useful and probably the best database ever. Good and bad at the same time. What our expected way of thinking during this question is we know that database on most of the companies usually uses for specific types of the task here for covering most or almost all requirements, non-functional requirements and functional requirements of a dedicated project. At the same time, when you consider in a case study, you need to be aware of the functional requirements and non-functional requirements of dedicated task. And that might help you to avoid the situation when the database that you suggested might be useless or average useless or maybe even harmful. I saw that a few case study that the database suggested was an SQL database, but from the perspective of non-functional functional requirements, the better approach is document database. But that's again just a simple example. Please do not assert, do not do any assumption. Look into functional requirements, non-functional requirements, and don't forget about costs. That's 95% of the candidates every time forgot about the costs. I know that it's not a key, but if you would consider it during the implementation or design, it will give you additional points at the very end. And of course, like a joke, using CAP theorem might also be helpful, but to be honest, I cannot find any example even using the test code, so just on an interview. But might be helpful. Okay, next question. Also good question and quite frequently asked. So one of the most important part of every application, almost every application, let's be here honest, yeah, will be a security. And what kind of authentication method are you going to use? And more than 50% candidates, they answering something like that. So I would use the most modern way, JSON Web Token. And that's it, and started to be silent. Good or bad, I cannot actually estimate the specific stuff, but direction of answer might be correct, yeah? So the JWT, it's not a method itself of authentication, yeah? But it's a kind of tool which used for dedicated stuff. But at the same time, when you mentioning JWT, you also need to consider what kind of service you will be using to actually implement it. What kind of other aspects might be considering during the picking up the authentication. And in very low number of situations, it might be even, let's say, in various situations, but it might be a number of situations when you actually can avoid authentication itself, yeah, on quite closed applications, on something which will be working on a dedicated closed environment or something like that. But again, it depending on the case study itself. Okay, next question. And again, that's a question that referred to my presentation point. So after we managed to build up all the possible components, we discussed each in specific, in dedicated granularity, I would say. We agreed on everything. So what kind of infrastructure you can suggest for dedicated case study? And again, average answer is, I think public cloud will be the best option. I would use all possible provided services because it's cheap, it's easy to use, and we don't need support of DevOps engineer. More or less answer. Good or bad, cannot estimate it, but at the same time, the expected way of thinking, that actually assessor way to. So again, one more time, you need to consider the requirements that actually flown to the specific case study. Some situation you might use definitely public cloud, and it will be a good infrastructure set to your case study. But for some situation, public cloud might be overestimated, and the better to use, I don't know, on-premise solution. And when I'm talking about on-premise solution, I'm not talking to install your dedicated set of components on the single server and just run it, yeah? Because nowadays, even from, for example, from our perspective, we have a specific isolated Kubernetes environment for specific needs, and it also will cover the most of the infrastructure problem, and at the same time it won't get into cost pit with all of this stuff. So, and when you're actually thinking about infrastructure, this question need to be agreed and discussed with the assessor. So for most of the specific questions related to infrastructure, better to get more clarity. I know that some candidates might ask about, hey, I don't know what current set you have on Tesco, and I cannot actually work it out. Then I'm trying to help and actually share with candidate the specific preset, which I pretend to be using in Tesco. Of course, it might be not true, but that I need to have a direction which candidate will follow. So that's actually suggestion. So if we're talking about the tips which I wanted to share with you. So you need to be sure, at least from Tesco perspective, I cannot tell from any software development company, but from Tesco technology perspective. So our assessor wanted to find your strengths, but not your weakness. And based on specific needs of the project or product that you're going to be a part of, so we wanted to expose the specific area. Please, if you approaching the system design, do not concentrate on some specific part of system design, but focus first on a big picture. It will definitely help you to solve the task from the perspective of assessor. And if you will need a support, do not hesitate to ask about it. Because as if you remember, two types of assessor, yeah? Kilian, if you got a Kilian, so better to ask about this support than wait, he will help you, yeah? So. And if you think at the end, don't think like a coder. The main approach of system design that you should think as a tech lead or maybe application architect. That's the approach that should be taken to any system design interview on any level. Be quiet, oh sorry, keep calm. Very important part of the conversation when you're showing your attitude to conversation and you show that you're not nervous. I know that for some of candidates it might not be true, but at the same time, I'm, for example, from the very beginning of every interview I'm conducting, I'm trying to establish this connection and show, for example, some things that I may follow and that I may not do. For example, one of the things when I started that I will be doing, and the things that I will be doing, for example, looking at my eyes on different side of the screen, just it's not exposing on my personal emotion, but like using the tool with all the powerful. At the same time, I'm talking about that I might interrupt the candidate just to prevent this broader explanation or specific component disclosure, and that also will not be treated as something that that I wanted to harm somehow candidate, but rather than direct him toward the answer that I wanted to hear from him, or at least direction. And of course, please be open and positive. So I know that any kind of interview is stressful because you don't know what assessor expect from you, what you wanted to show till the very end, and be open, positive, and try to establish connection. It will help you to approach. And thank you so much. And now we have a question-answer session. Okay. So please scan the QR code if you have sorry, I will be from the screen. It seems unlikely that the assessor doesn't want to find your weakness too. The focus is on strengths, but the weakness disqualify you, right? Good question. I cannot promise you that every assessor might have approach on disqualifying or making you fail the interview. But from my perspective, again, I can share only my personal thoughts here and personal approach to the interview. So it might be true. So if I would find weakness in a specific area which required for project or product which this candidate will going to use, and that might be different aspects that I will be considering, and definitely just spare example, we speaking about, I don't know, any type of task, yeah, and we go into security details, and the candidate said, I haven't had a chance to work with security deeper, so I heard something about it, we integrated with something, but I haven't had a chance. Then I wouldn't actually stop interview straight away and say, hey, sorry, we cannot go further, you already failed. That's not true, basically, because security might be as a point if he will be a part of the team who is responsible for security, because it's no point if the same approach we will be using. So for example, he will use some SaaS service, we just need to exchange with the token and credential, and that's it. So he knows about how it's working, and that's basically what will be in consideration. Again, it's not a promise, it's just my approach, and I believe that approach of my colleagues from Tesco Technology. Anybody else? Okay, dokie, 2 more minutes. Okay, then. Thank you so much for coming. If you wanted to talk about the system design or any other types of interviews, please come to our stand at the hall, and we will be able to answer all your questions. Thank you.